The 50 Shades series is back on the big screen, with stars Dakota Johnson and Jamie Dornan continuing E.L. James's story of Ana Steele and Christian Grey. So to mark the return of the multi-million-dollar film franchise, I've put together some crazy, intriguing facts about the 50 Shades movie sequels. After the first film, some audiences complained that there wasn't enough, Shades of Dornan on show. In fact, even the 90-year-old co-editor of the Shades of Grey movie, Ann Coates, thought the film could have been raunchier. Dakota Johnson also joked that she was going to start a campaign to get Jamie Dornan fully naked in the sequels, and Dornan himself has said that he thinks Hollywood's double standards on male and female nudity are unfair. But while Dornan has also said he's not bothered about being nude on camera, he's remained pretty reticent about what exactly is on show in Shades Darker and Shades Freed, saying, just a couple of weeks after filming, that he couldn't remember. Despite that, and the rumours that he was offered over $1 million to reveal all in the sequels, the Dornan D, as Dakota jokingly called it, remained firmly tucked away in a flesh-coloured bag during filming, just like it was in Shades of Grey. Now that Jamie Dornan's known all over the world for bringing Christian Grey to life on the silver screen, there's not many places he can go without being recognised by fans of 50 Shades. In fact, the funniest fan interaction he remembers took place in an elevator, and no, it was absolutely nothing like that scene in 50 Shades Darker. What actually happened was that Dornan was in an elevator when a very drunk woman suddenly realised who he was and started telling him that it was thanks to E.L. James's erotic novels that she got pregnant, as after reading them she and her husband began having a lot more sex. Shooting the two sequels involved 160 sets and locations and 103 days of filming in 3 countries and 8 cities. In fact, one of those locations proved especially familiar for Jamie Dornan, who by a quirk of fate ended up staying in not only the same hotel, but also the exact same room he'd stayed in when he acted in his very first movie, Marie Antoinette, over 10 years previously. And as if that wasn't enough of a deja vu experience for Dornan, for the 50 Shades sequels he also filmed at the Opera House by the hotel, the very place where he shot his first ever scene as an actor. And on top of that, the cinematographer on 50 Shades Darker and 50 Shades Freed is John Schwartzman, who's the cousin of Marie Antoinette writer and director Sofia Coppola, and the brother of Jason Schwartzman, who starred in Marie Antoinette along with Jamie. The biggest, most demanding sequence for the movie's crew was the masquerade ball at the Grey family mansion that features in 50 Shades Darker. When she was writing the book, E.L. James based the scene on her own experience throwing 2 masquerade balls. But the filmmakers went for a different look to the very restrained, pastel affair that James says she imagined when writing. However, they did tip their hat to the novel when it came to things like the menu, wine and auction items. Production designer Nelson Coates was inspired by the lavish looks of Venice and its mask-filled carnival, and even recreated an old Venetian cathedral floor at the Vancouver Convention Centre where they filmed the ball. Amid all the extravagance of the masquerade scene, costume designer Shay Cunliffe wanted to keep Anna's look minimal, making her stand out as what she calls a beautiful siren of simplicity. So Anna's gown channels old Hollywood, especially 1930s musicals, and was created by LA-based fashion designer Monique Lhuillier, whose clientele include Reese Witherspoon and Scarlett Johansson. And every single feather in the cape that Anna wears as she enters the ball was sewn on by hand. Dressing the scene's more than 200 extras proved trickier than the filmmakers first thought. Initially, they turned to the costume houses Torelli in Rome and Malabar in Toronto to hire period outfits. But then the scene began looking like an 18th century play, so they sent the outfits back and instead went for a mix of costume pieces along with formal party wear, including 1980s couture. In addition to that, they also bought hundreds of masks from classic mask makers in Venice. The 50 Shades sequels give even more insight into Christian's billionaire lifestyle. For example, several new rooms were added to his penthouse that weren't seen in the previous films, including a library and billiard room that's home to a very special Brunswick Centennial Art Deco pool table, which is a limited edition collector's item from just after the Second World War. The room also houses an especially distinctive $17,000 chess set by designer Kelly Wurstler that features a hand-sculpted marble board and gold and gunmetal plated bronze pieces in the shape of human body parts, including hands, legs, lips and torsos. Forget the clean-shaven Christian from 50 Shades of Grey, the new movie in the series hasn't just gone darker, it's also gone stubblier. After complaints that Jamie Dornan wasn't sporting his usual bearded look in the first film, the filmmakers decided that stubble was the way forward for Christian Grey's face in the sequels, which has not only pleased fans who love their leading man with added facial fuzz, but also Dornan himself, who absolutely hates shaving. In fact, the Northern Irish actor has even said that he hates his face when it's beardless because it makes him look too young. And since Dornan feels more at ease with himself when he's unshaven, he always tries to stay that way in each new role he takes on. The 50 Shades franchise may have played a big part in Dakota Johnson and Jamie Dornan's lives, catapulting them to worldwide fame, but their nearest and dearest have yet to see them on screen as Anna and Christian, and probably never will. Yes, although Dakota's parents, Working Girl star Melanie Griffith and Miami Vice star Don Johnson, are both veteran actors themselves, the thought of watching their daughter in the 50 Shades films is just too uncomfortable. Indeed, Dakota had a bit of an argument about the subject with Melanie on the red carpet at the 2015 Oscars, but didn't succeed in changing her mind. But Mum Melanie does know what she's talking about when she says it would be just too awkward to watch the movies, as she actually read all the 50 Shades books well before her daughter auditioned for the role. However, Melanie's decision to skip the movies means she'll miss out on a little surprise tribute to her in 50 Shades Darker, though Dakota hopes she'll at least see a clip of that one particular moment. As for Jamie Dornan, he said himself that Christian Grey's not the sort of guy he'd hang out with, and that the stuff that Grey does in the 50 Shades movies doesn't float his or his wife's boat, and likewise he understands why his wife, actress-composer Amelia Warner, doesn't want to watch the movies. And after all, the birth of the couple's daughters, the first child 3 days before filming kicked off on Shades of Grey, and the second 2 weeks before the sequels started shooting, is more than enough for Amelia to remember her husband's stint as Christian Grey. So guys, what do you think about the 50 Shades movies, and how do you think they compare to the books? If you enjoyed this video, do comment, like, and hit that subscribe button. And don't forget to check out my other videos, and you can tap or click here to do just that. Thanks for watching, and see you next time. Yippee-ki-yay, movie lovers!